Cristiano Ronaldo, World Cup. Undeniably, Ronaldo has spent 20 years collecting trophies like they were milestones on a map. Premier Leagues, Champions Leagues, a Euros win, the Nations League, he checked them off one by one with the same confidence he walks onto a pitch. But there's still one thing following him everywhere he goes: the World Cup. It's the only part of his story that feels unfinished, the one chapter everyone keeps waiting for him to complete. Portugal had windows that looked promising. In 2018, they had momentum, but ran into Uruguay. In 2022, the team was built to go far, yet the campaign collapsed in the quarterfinals against Morocco. Through all of it, Ronaldo's role shifted from guaranteed starter to lightning rod for debate, and every match felt like time was tapping him on the shoulder. Now the calendar points towards 2026. He will be 41, still one of the most dedicated athletes alive, but no longer the unstoppable force of his prime. Portugal's squad is loaded with talent: Bruno Fernandes, Bernardo Silva, João Felix, Mendes. And that gives the story a new kind of weight. Will he eventually win it, making him the greatest of all time? Well, only time will tell. Kylian Mbappé, Ballon d'Or. This guy has built a resume that looks like it belongs to someone in their 30s, not a player still in his mid-20s. League One titles, a World Cup final hat-trick, and goal-scoring numbers that turn defenders into cones. Harry Kane literally wishes to be him, yet for all the noise he creates, the Ballon d'Or still hasn't landed in his hands. And that's the one thing hanging over him like a spotlight that never switches off. But to his defense, the timing never lined up. In 2018, he exploded onto the world stage, but Modric took the award during Croatia's miracle run. In 2019, Messi was untouchable. The pandemic years reshuffled everything, and the recent decade turned into a tug-of-war between Messi's longevity and Haaland's statistical eruptions. Mbappe kept performing at a world-class level, but the crown kept sliding towards someone else. But he is now at Real Madrid. He's now the face of Real Madrid's attack, surrounded by players who can turn his movement into numbers that voters can't ignore. Vinicius, Bellingham, Rodrigo. This is a lineup that magnifies whoever sits at the top of it. He's been at the doorstep for years. Now he finally has a team strong enough to kick it open. Neymar, redemption. From Santos to Barcelona to PSG, his talent never slipped. The problem was everything around it: the injuries, the expectations, the transfer drama, and the moments where he looked ready to take over the sport, only for the momentum to disappear without warning. Now he's in a phase that feels like a crossroads. He's still one of the most naturally gifted players alive, but his last few seasons have created a long list of unfinished chapters. The Champions League exit against Bayern, the ankle injuries, the stop-start seasons in Paris, and the move to Al Hilal, all of it built a narrative he never planned for. It wasn't a decline, but it pulled him away from the spotlight he once owned. What Neymar needs today is simple: a moment that resets the story, a comeback that turns the noise into applause again. Whether it comes through a strong Copa America run, a return to Europe later in his career, or a stretch of games where he stays fit long enough to let his talent flow without interruption, the redemption arc is right there waiting. Harry Kane, a major trophy. He has built a career that should already have medals stacked in a display case. Golden boots, goal-scoring records, captaincy for England, and numbers that place him shoulder to shoulder with the greatest strikers in Premier League history, or do I say, the entire of football. The strange part is how all of that sits next to a trophy shelf that still hasn't caught up to his level. At Tottenham, he carried teams through managers, rebuilds, and eras that shifted around him constantly. He delivered goals while the club kept resetting its identity. He reached finals, semi-finals, and deep runs, but the missing piece always showed up at the end of the story. Then came the move to Bayern Munich, a club built to win the trophies he spent his career chasing. His first Bundesliga season turned into an unexpected twist. Bayern dropped the title for the first time in over a decade. Kane did his part with historic scoring numbers, but the season collapsed in ways no one predicted. But last season, he won his first title with Bayern. I mean, finally. But is that enough for him? I don't think so. With England targeting the next major international tournament and Bayern rebuilding for another push in Europe, the opportunity for a big title is there. Kane doesn't need 15 trophies. He just needs one solid title that finally reflects the level he's played at for over a decade. Maybe the Champions League with Bayern or the World Cup with England. The chase has defined him long enough. Now it's about closing the loop. Lionel Messi, the perfect goodbye. Messi has done everything a footballer can possibly do. League titles in Spain and France, 4 Champions Leagues, a Copa America, a World Cup, 8 Ballons d'Or. His story already reads like mythology, but even legends have chapters that feel unfinished, and for Messi, that missing piece is the way his career ends. His departure from Barcelona was one of the most emotional exits football has ever seen. One press conference, a room full of tears, and a goodbye he never planned for. He didn't get a final match at the Camp Nou, no farewell lap. No chance to close the story where it began. It all ended with paperwork and a shocked dressing room. Then came Paris, a move built out of necessity rather than desire. He delivered goals and assists, but the connection never felt natural, and the timeline shifted again. Now he's at Inter Miami, playing some of the most joyful football of his later years, surrounded by friends and a fan base that treats him like a visiting king. But the chapter everyone keeps circling back to is the one that still hasn't been written. The proper goodbye. Barcelona wants it, the fans want it. Messi himself has hinted at the emotional weight of returning one last time, even if it's not as a full season player. He doesn't need a trophy or a final Ballon d'Or to complete his story. He needs the ending that matches the journey, one moment where he steps back onto the Camp Nou grass, hears that roar again, and closes his book in the place where the world first opened it. Vinicius Jr, global respect. He has reached a level where defenders stop warming up the moment they see his name on the team sheet. Champions League finals, La Liga titles, match-winning runs on the biggest stages. He's already one of the most dangerous attackers in world football, but the part that follows him into every stadium isn't his dribbling or pace. It's the constant noise around him, the criticism, the hostility, and the spotlight that burns hotter than it should for someone his age. In Spain, he deals with scrutiny that goes way beyond tactics or performance. From rough challenges to crowd abuse to weekly debates about his temperament, the conversation around him often drifts away from football entirely. And yet, in the middle of all that chaos, he still delivers. He was Real Madrid's key outlet during their Champions League runs, scored in a final at 21, and became the heartbeat of a team stacked with stars. But here's what he needs right now: global respect that matches his output. Not sympathy, not protection, just recognition of the level he's reached. Because the truth is simple, he's one of the most influential wide players on the planet. He's improved his finishing, sharpened his decision-making, and grown into a leader in a team full of giants. With Mbappe and Bellingham beside him, this season could finally shift the conversation. If he keeps performing in Champions League knockouts, keeps deciding big matches, and keeps carrying Brazil on the international stage, the world won't be able to talk around him anymore. Virgil van Dijk, final peak. Strikers would sprint toward him with full speed, and he'd guide them away like someone closing a door without breaking eye contact. From 2018 to 2020, he built a reputation that felt untouchable. Champions League winner, Premier League champion, Ballon d'Or runner-up, and the anchor of a Liverpool team that looked unstoppable. Then came the injury. The ACL tear against Everton changed the rhythm of his career. He recovered, returned, and still played at a level most defenders dream of, but the aura shifted. Liverpool went through rebuilds, tactical resets, and squad transitions, and Van Dijk became the leader, holding the backline together through constantly changing partnerships. Konate, Matip, Gomez, nothing stayed stable long enough for the old chemistry to return. Now he's in a phase where the timeline is narrowing. He's still elite, still reading the game better than defenders several years younger, and still the captain who steadies Liverpool when pressure rises. But what he needs right now is one final peak. A season where everything aligns again. A settled system, a consistent centre-back pairing, and a complete run where he plays at the level that once made him the most feared defender in the world. Lautaro Martinez, Champions League. He has become the heartbeat of Inter's attack. Relentless pressing, sharp movement, and finishing that improves season after season. He's the kind of striker who never disappears in big games. Serie A titles, deep Champions League runs, a World Cup medal with Argentina. His career already looks like a success story, but there's still one mountain sitting there waiting for him, lifting the Champions League. Inter came close in 2023. That run showed exactly how important Lautaro had become. He led the press, linked up every attack, and carried a huge part of the team's identity on his shoulders. The final against Manchester City was tight. Inter created real chances, defended with courage, and played like a team that belonged on that stage. Lautaro worked relentlessly, but the moment slipped away, and City closed the match with a single goal. Since then, he's only gotten stronger. He's improved his goal output, taken on more responsibility, and grown into a captain who drives the pace of Inter's entire front line. The squad around him also matured. Barella, Çalhanoğlu, Dumfries, Thuram, players who can support a serious European push. What Lautaro needs now is the season where it all clicks together, not a surprise run, not an underdog story. A full campaign where Inter enters the knockout rounds with momentum, stays healthy, and gives him the platform to finish what he started winning the Champions League title. Honestly, he deserves it. Bukayo Saka, Premier League. He has grown into the face of Arsenal's new era without ever acting like he needed the spotlight. One academy kid stepped into a rebuilding squad, and suddenly he became the player carrying their biggest ambitions: goals, assists, consistency, leadership. He delivers all of it without the dramatics that usually follow rising stars in England. But there's one thing missing from his story: a Premier League title. Arsenal came close thrice. The 2022/23 season looked like a breakthrough year until the final stretch slipped away. The next campaign was stronger, more disciplined, and backed by a squad that finally believed it could go toe-to-toe with Manchester City. Saka played through injuries, heavy minutes, and the pressure of being the primary creative outlet. Even with all that, his output stayed elite. That's where his need becomes clear. Saka doesn't need validation or hype. He's already one of the most reliable players in the league. What he needs is the trophy that matches the level he plays at. To him, the Premier League is the reward for carrying the weight of Arsenal's resurgence from the moment he broke through as a teenager. Bernardo Silva, recognition. When Manchester City needs control, he's the one dictating the rhythm. When they need chaos, he drifts into pockets no defender wants to chase. He's played as a winger, an 8, a false 9, and, when Guardiola decides to get creative, a hybrid role only he seems to understand. And through all of that, he performs at a world-class level without demanding attention. That versatility became both a blessing and a curse. City fans know exactly how important he is, but outside that circle, the recognition never fully matches his influence. He'll dominate a Champions League knockout tie, score a decisive goal, press from the first minute to the last, and the spotlight still ends up somewhere else. Haaland's numbers, De Bruyne's assists, Rodri's dominance. Bernardo becomes the glue, the connector, the player who keeps everything flowing while others get the headlines. Undeniably, his game is already complete. What he needs is recognition that reflects the role he's played in City's historic run. He's been part of a treble, multiple Premier League titles, deep European campaigns, and seasons where his consistency held the entire system together. Whether it comes through a season where he becomes the face of City's midfield, a Champions League run where he delivers the defining moment, or a Ballon d'Or ranking that finally respects his impact, he has truly earned a place in football's top-tier conversations. Pedri, health. He is one of those players who makes football look effortless. The first touch, the weight of the pass, the timing, everything flows through him like the game is moving at his speed. When he broke into Barcelona's squad, he instantly became the heartbeat of their midfield. Euro 2020 turned him into Spain's future, and for a moment, it looked like he would dominate the next decade without interruption. Then the workload hit. Too many minutes, too much responsibility, and too little rest for someone still building the physical side of his career. The injuries piled up. Hamstrings, muscle tears, setbacks that arrived right when he seemed ready to return. It wasn't just a bad stretch, it became a pattern that slowed a development curve once compared to the best midfielders of his generation. What he needs right now is simple, uninterrupted health. Not a miracle jump in pace, not a dramatic reinvention, just enough consistency to stay on the pitch long enough for his talent to shine again. When he's available, Barcelona's structure changes, the tempo settles, the midfield becomes more intelligent. Spain also becomes smoother and more controlled. That's the level he brings. With time, he will surely be fit again. And that's it. If you enjoyed watching this video, you will surely love this one.